So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to this week's news about spying, shall we? As you know, there is more and more revelations about spying every single day, it seems. This past week, President Barack Obama went on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, which that in itself is reason enough to be mad at Obama. But while on the Tonight Show, Barack Obama had the following to say about spying. Take a listen.
There's federal court oversight as well as congressional oversight that there is no spying on Americans. We don't have a domestic spying program.
Whoa, all right. Well, that's a relief. That's a relief, I guess, despite all of the evidence that has come out recently saying the contrary. The president says there is no spying on Americans. We don't have a domestic spying program. Well, if he says it, it must be true. Case closed. However, the president did in fact go on to say this. Take a listen.
We don't have a domestic spying program. What we do have are some mechanisms where we can track a phone number or an email address that we know is connected to some sort of terrorist threat.
Ah, I see. So we don't have a domestic spying program. We just have the mechanisms of a domestic spying program. Let's be clear, folks. We've got to be honest here. It's not a program. So don't worry. It's just mechanisms. That makes me feel so much better. As long as it's not an official program. Look, if it was a program, I'll tell you something. If it was a program, Mr. President, then I would be upset. Then I might be a little worried about the government collecting all this data. Look, as long as it's just the NSA gathering and storing all of our communications data, our phone records, our email records. No, as long as it's just the gathering and storing, that's fine. As long as you tell me that it's not a program, then we're fine. Then we're great. As long as it's not a program. I mean, it's this parsing of words, it's so frustrating and so disingenuous. And the White House, as you know, has said again and again that Edward Snowden is not a whistleblower. They say that all the time, that he is not a whistleblower. As we've talked about before, they have in fact charged him under the Espionage Act, which again, the Espionage Act of 1917 is supposed to be about people committing espionage with a foreign nation. Edward Snowden gave the information to all of us and not to a foreign government. So again, charging him under the Espionage Act when 10 people have been charged in the history with leaking information under the Espionage Act. 7 of them have been under the Obama administration. But anyway, so the Obama administration and the White House have said that Snowden is not a whistleblower. That's all what they always say. He's not a whistleblower. He is a criminal, and we need to get him back so we can put him in jail. That's what we got to do. This week, however, Democratic congressman and famed civil rights leader, one of Martin Luther King's lieutenants. Actually, he spoke at the March on Washington. He's the last living person who actually spoke at the March on Washington. Congressman John Lewis, has actually said the opposite of what the White House and the Obama administration have said. He's actually said that he is a whistleblower. In an interview with The Guardian, Lewis called Snowden a whistleblower, which again, he obviously is, but he actually went on to say, quote, this is John Lewis talking to The Guardian, "In keeping with the philosophy and the discipline of nonviolence, in keeping with the teaching of Henry David Thoreau and people like Gandhi and others, if you believe that something is not right, something is unjust, and you are willing to defy customs, traditions, bad laws, then you have a conscience. You have the right to defy those laws and be willing to pay the price, end quote. And, you know, and the truth is, John Lewis actually knows a thing or two about spying, seeing as how Martin Luther King and all of the top civil rights leaders were in fact spied on by the U.S. government. That happened. That happened in our recent history here, folks. Lewis actually said on that quote, "We had that problem during the height of the civil rights movement. People spied on and got information on Martin Luther King Jr. and tried to use it against him, on the movement, tried to paint people within different organizations. That probably led to the destruction of some of those groups," end quote. And look, the reason I bring up what John Lewis is saying and saying about Edward Snowden is this. It's, again, one of these moments where I am trying to appeal to some of those who are supposedly on the left, some of those who are supposedly on the center left, the left. I'm a couple of people in particular, friends of mine who are still consistently attacking Edward Snowden, still consistently attacking Glenn Greenwald. And I do this to try to appeal to your sense of justice, and maybe just for a second to allow you to see that you are most likely on the wrong side of history when it comes to this issue. On one side, you have John Lewis, a civil rights leader who spoke at the March on Washington with Martin Luther King Jr., with Martin Luther King. You have on the other side a xenophobic Congressman, Peter King. These are the sides here. This is a big issue, and in fact, there are sides.